I got in front of the red light. I took a methylene blue, and oh my goodness, I felt like I was bouncing off the wall. It's what helps make your pants blue. But then it was kind of like a happy accident. So they discovered underneath a microscope that it stained very well and that it was antimicrobial, anti-malarial.
Welcome to Health Decoded, your number one source for real health information with your hosts, Dr. Alessi and Matt Tack.
Hey, Health Decoded listeners. Dr. Alessi here. Let me ask you a serious question. Are you tired of waiting until something goes wrong to finally see a doctor? At Alessi Functional Health, we take a different approach, the right approach. We believe true healthcare isn't about chasing symptoms. It's about preventing them in the first place. That's why we created the Alessi Total Care Program. This is a functional medicine-based membership that gives you proactive, personalized care year-round. You'll get access to comprehensive blood work and functional testing, custom doctor-grade nutraceuticals, deep discounts on labs, protocols, and follow-ups, as well as 24/7 direct access to your doctor, not just a 10-minute checkup that ends with another prescription. And here's the best part. As a Health Decoded listener, you'll get your first 3 months completely free when you sign up for an annual membership. That's on top of hundreds in savings already built into the program. This is your chance to take responsibility for your health and join a movement that's redefining what primary care should look like. Head on over to alessifunctionalhealth.com, click on our services tab, and go to Total Care. Learn more about this program and claim your exclusive podcast listener offer. Your health is your greatest asset. Let's protect it proactively.
So welcome back to the Health Decoded podcast. Listen, folks, we have a special guest again on for the second time, but I get to interview him this time. We get to talk about a little bit different things that we honestly, I don't think we've really honed in on probably lately in our Health Decoded side. I know we talked a little bit about Full Fueled. We brought on some really cool guests, Jay Campbell and various things, but Carter West he really has a cool background in this and really geeks out. I geek out about it, but we're going to talk about all things biohacking. Yeah. I think it's, I struggle with the word biohacking, honestly.
Me too.
I think it's biooptimization or bioharmony. Because the reality is like, we're always aging. The reality is you're not hacking your aging, but there is like a harmonization to it. And that's kind of like where I gear towards the harmonizing piece. So we're going to talk about maybe a little bit bioharmonizing.
I guess one of my friends, he said, talking to your body intelligently.
Talking to your body intelligently.
Yeah. Instead of biohacking.
I love that.
Yeah.
I love that. Tomato, we're talking about it. And I think we're going to talk about some really cool stuff. But, one of the most important things, I guess we'll start that people tend to overlook a lot is sleeping. So let's spend a couple minutes just on, various things that you maybe hacked into recently where you've optimized your sleep a little bit.
Yeah. So, sleeping is actually an active problem that I'm currently working on. I would love to get more into the PEMF mats and cooling and stuff, because that's something that I struggle with in my bedroom here in Florida is temperature. But if there was one thing that I did that actually helped out my sleep, and if anyone were to say, hey, Carter, what's your favorite biohack ever? I love mouth taping at night. So I've read literature, I've read books just about nasal breathing. Think of it as a muscle that you go to the gym to work out. If you don't use it, you lose it, right? So you get better quality of oxygen going through your nose that is able to better supply to the rest of your tissues throughout your body. So I just put tape over my mouth and just say, use this and use this only. So, and then one thing too is, I don't know if you've ever seen those nasal strips where you put them on and then it dilates. I feel a difference when I use those when I sleep, and I've actually used them for working out. And when I work out, it's a game changer. But yeah, so I'll do the nasal strip and the tape, and that's probably my two favorite things for sleeping.
That's awesome. So the one example I love always giving of breathing through your nose, right? And why the importance of it. Mm-hmm. So if you take something if you take water, right? And there's just a bunch of dirt in the water, let's
Yeah.
say. And then you put a filter over that water, and then you have a new cup, right?
Mm-hmm.
And you pour that water with the filter on top, and it catches all that dirt and all that biome and whatever it is, right?
Mm-hmm.
That's what essentially your nose is doing when you're breathing through your nose. There's a lot of filtering mechanisms that it's capturing before you're breathing it in. Your mouth doesn't have that filtering mechanism. So typically, if you're a mouth breather, you're probably more susceptible to getting sick and getting more colds. And so it's more of an immunization component when you're breathing through your nose, is that you typically stay healthier.
Yeah. One other thing that I would like to capture is that I do it for a mechanical advantage. So mechanical meaning structure. So a lot of times when we breathe through our mouths, a lot of bigger people kind of do that. So like it'll add on some tissue, and then when you're bigger, like it'll occlude the throat a little bit more. And then what it does specifically in your mouth is there's the palate. It will shrink the palate a little bit more, and then the teeth start crowding. So one of my favorite reasons for nasal breathing, putting tape over my mouth, is so that way I can maintain a wide palate, and so that way my teeth don't crowd.
That's awesome.
So like if you want to be healthier, yes, do that. But if you want to look good and keep your teeth straight, that's why I would do it. So maybe for some people, they're more moved by, how do I look better?
Superficial.
Yeah.
I like it.
I mean, I'm a superficial person too, but
aren't we all? Aren't we all? Hey, I think it's one of those things where honestly, everyone would want to say hey, I want to look good, right?
Yeah.
That's the point, I think. I've been thinking about this a lot more recently, that I think statistics say after the age of pretty much 21 is that no one will ever live into a body that they actually truly love or admire. How sad is that? And that's domestically speaking here in the United States, that overwhelming majority of people will not be in a body that they actually truly enjoy.
Yeah.
And those are some of the small things, like your face is something that you look into every day that you want to make, I want to look good, right? I want to look in the mirror and be like, hey man, you look good today. So you look good.
You are a winner.
You look good.
Make sure you're doing affirmations while you're doing that too.
That's right. That's right. So let's segue into this, because I think sleep. All right. So closing your mouth, I've actually started utilizing, I was a mouth sleeper. And then over the past month, I've actually started using a CPAP to just inject air into my nose. Right. And that has forced me to shut my mouth. You literally, when you're using a CPAP, it kicks air up. And if I open up my mouth, air's just blowing out my mouth. So the CPAP has changed the game for me, where I'm actually forced, it's forced oxygen going into my nose, where it forces my mouth just to completely shut. So that's just an alternative that I've done. But segueing off of that, I've seen more energy throughout the day. So I've seen that sleep performance then comes to daytime optimization.
Yeah.
And so there's a number of different things we can talk in daytime optimization. I and Dr. Alessi we're massive believers in therapeutic testosterone. Actually, I was talking with a gentleman today. He had his top line numbers were 195, which is insanely low for a 40-year-old man, right? I honestly don't know how he even functioned. Mine were actually at 267 when I was like, dude, I am taking charge of my health. I'm taking it from here. Right. So I got on therapeutic testosterone. I usually balance out between about 800 and 1,000. That's something I do in my routine blood work.
That's awesome.
And one thing I've noticed though is the derivative of everything, right? So if I know I'm sleeping well, I'm performing well, my body's recovering well, then I can start utilizing those things. But the testosterone can't come before my other habits, which is a really, really critical thing that people need to understand and learn, is that you need to build healthy habits, and then you can start adding these modalities. So as we go into some nerdy stuff, I also want to go to the core fundamental root of what this all needs to, where we need to come back to is building one by one really healthy habits. Sleep is very much, you need to mature that habit to then get optimization in the day. But so therapeutic testosterone, we won't get on that. Carter's a fairly young guy. I think he has relatively high testosterone. Hey, he's also single, ladies. So this guy, single guy looking for a solid woman out there. So Carter is he's single and ready to mingle. we're just going to make a note that we'll put the show notes of where he's at and where you can find him. Slip into his DMs, please, if you're a pretty girl. So now that we get on to the nitty gritty of human optimization and what other things, right? I think, some of the things that I've talked with you about, can you dig a little bit more into the methylene blue you're doing, maybe the red light therapy I see you utilizing in the clinic and some other metrics that you use throughout the day?
Yeah. So I'll delve into this a little bit with my most recent experience. So here at Alessi Functional Health, we got a Mito red light panel. So I want to say it was on Monday. Monday, I was kind of feeling a little bit groggy. I was doing some computer work, and then I got in front of the red light. I took a methylene blue, and oh my goodness, I felt like I was bouncing off the wall. Then I went to go work out after, and it was such a good pump.
But describe methylene blue for us.
Yeah,
what is it? And then also describe a red light therapy, and that can help us as well.
So methylene blue was discovered in the 1800s as more of an industrial dye. It's what helps make your pants blue. But then it was kind of like a happy accident. So they discovered underneath a microscope that it stained very well and that it was antimicrobial, anti-malarial. And then they found that it was very beneficial for mitochondria. And this was discovered over 100 years ago, but then it's kind of nice that with social media and all that, we kind of got talking about that again, and saying like, hey, this has been known, but we need to expound some awareness on this. So one of the reasons why I like doing it is inside of the mitochondria is the electron transport chain, which I like to liken to a dam with water, right? So water goes through a dam to produce electricity. And there's a certain rate and frequency that water's going through the dam. And protons, they go through a gradient in the mitochondria, kind of like water through a dam. Methylene blue supercharges that process. So instead of just a couple of protons going in, there's a lot more. So if it's spinning really fast, then there's more production of ATP, or the body's cellular currency for energy. So that's one of the reasons why I like doing it. But then if you pair red light with that, it just supercharges that process. I learned about that at a ACA symposium for the Diagnosis and Internal Disorders chiropractic group, which I'm really fond of. And the guy lecturing there said that, and I was like, okay, this is why I got to pair them together. So that's why I felt like I was supercharged. The red light panel is really good for boosting circulation, reducing inflammation. Probably my favorite reason for red light is I notice a big mood difference. Just as a student, like I'm about to graduate chiropractic school in December. I love anything that boosts my brain, gives me a cognitive edge. And I feel like red light therapy does it. And even just while I'm here at, Alessi Functional Health, like I'll just be in front of that red light panel for at least 5 minutes and I notice a big mood change. So yes, it has mechanical, structural, it can help out your muscles with recovery and your soft tissue, but use it for your brain, please. Like that's something that I swear by.
Yeah, that's exactly. I mean, anytime you can reduce inflammation in the body is just always going to cater towards better enhancement from a neuroplasticity standpoint within your brain, right? You're going to operate more on all cylinders. And then the other component of that, cardiovascular health, right? I think, those are the two major things that, I'm a big Peter Attia fan.
And just he's a good guy.
Just, his measurables on what actually lifespan looks like instead of lifespan is actually produced by health span, right? It's not actually the number at which you live. But in one of the previous podcasts that we just launched is becoming that athlete of life. And I think this is a component of that. It absolutely is a component of that, where putting in these just like small modalities, whether it be methylene blue, whether it be red light therapy, or just like as a common function that you do on a weekly or even daily basis, that inflames less, takes the inflammation out of the body. And allows you to just look good, feel good, and play good. I keep it that simple, right? I just go back like, doesn't everyone want to just get back to that? Look good, feel good, play good.
Amen.
And so that's my motto, is just doing that, right? And so like, what what is one thing you can focus on over the next 90 days of just intentionally incorporating that? It could be red light therapy, it could be a methylene blue, it could be looking at getting your blood work back, becoming more educated so that you can really dial in though just maybe small nutritional deficiencies that you might have, right? One thing for me specifically that we've catered to a number of podcasts on, but is just getting an adequate amount of protein in on a daily basis. So for me, my goal is always 225 grams of protein. How do I do that? I do that in a number of different ways, but mine's going to be a shake in the morning. I'm going to build some carbohydrates in there, always whole food, bananas, strawberries are typically my choice when I incorporate that in, maybe a little almond butter. You have to, with almond butter, I always worry about the oxalates a little bit slightly because I eat and the bananas. But, one thing is that if you're incorporating some level of resistance training into it, that should never be like a true issue. Your body should be releasing those. Hey, have you ever dug into oxalates, by the way?
Yeah. Well, so I kind of follow more of the carnivore crowd. And the only thing I really heard about that was like the dark leafy greens and stuff. And even like, yeah, I actually did not know that about almond butter. So thanks for sharing.
Almonds have a little bit. Bananas actually have. The way you measure actually oxalates is pretty wild. So like after you eat spinach, if you have a tingling sensation in your mouth where there's like small, like you feel like there's small cuts going on, those are the oxalates at play. So that's actually working against productivity within the body. So that's just, something to be educated about a little bit. So I always process and think a little bit differently when it comes to where I'm incorporating my carbohydrates.
So mostly a smoothie, but like, what else are you digging into? Because that was actually a question that I had for you. It's like, what do you personally focus on with nutrition? So you went into the smoothie. What else are you doing?
Yeah. So for me, this goes back to the previous podcast, Athlete of Life, right? Mm-hmm. And so I think, everyone should program in. I don't care if you played sports or not. I think sports are a great analogy for life, right? The athlete is just you becoming better, right?
Yes.
And so for me, I have what I call my in-season and out-of-season. My in-season is when I'm a little bit leaner. And so I'm doing a little bit more cutting. I'm lower on the fats and carbohydrates. I'll be very strategic about my fat intake, high protein. Yeah. And so that's when I'm leaning the body up. I'm actually reducing my body fat. I typically probably am going to feel like a little bit more better in that region, but I'm also going to be a little bit hungry. I'm very primitive in nature, right? I'm going to be, because I'm not eating as many calories.
Yeah.
My out of season, right, is typically filled with a little bit denser weights in the weight room. So I'm going to be lifting a little bit heavier. But my caloric load is relatively high.
Yeah.
So I'm packing on weight. Right now I'm in that. So I'm actually about 215, 220 right now. So I'm in that stacking phase, more considered out of season. And I'll do that for anywhere from 2 to 3 months before I go back in season. In season, I'm going to cut. I'm going to look a little bit more shredded. So I treat it that way. And that's just for me to play little games, right? I'm the athlete of life. I want to get a little bit better. And so that's how I'm going to just incorporate when I'm truly in this like stacking mode. My caloric intake goes up, but I'm still hitting my protein target.
Heck yeah. I have a question for you, Matt, because this is a nutritional question. So there's some people where it feels like there's two sides of the story where they focus more on what they eat. Like, don't eat this. It has all this synthetic processed garbage in there. And then there's people that are more on like, it doesn't matter what you eat as long as you're counting the calories and stuff. So I just wanted to get your thoughts on how do you reconcile those two things where you obviously have goals of where you want to be physically and aesthetically with counting calories, but then not a lot of things that we're eating are actually that good for us, like, how do you remedy those two things?
Yeah, we had a long time ago, we had a podcast on soil enrichment, right? So like the natural, like whole foods are not even the same today as they were, 20, 30, 40 years ago. So that's even one thing to consider. It's like, what is it? Like, even if you're getting something off the shelf or a whole food. Now I cater towards whole foods. I eat a lot of whole foods, but the reality is that the whole seed oil thing, I actually don't care. Like, I don't actually feed into a lot of, the canola oil is bad for you. Vegetable oil is bad for you. What I do prescribe to is that I am going to eat some foods that naturally are going to have some seed oils in it. Preservative foods. My whole food source outweighs my any type of snacking that I might do, but I outwork myself at the gym. Okay. So this is the real thing that it comes down to for me, and this is my personal life, is that when I go to the gym, I don't have my phone on. And the reason why I don't have my phone on me is because I am getting a freaking sweat on. I'm not letting anything else interfere. Like I go to the gym to do a purpose, right? And that is to kick up my heart rate. You can burn anything off with when you work, right? Yeah. And so many people want to be focused on what am I, putting all these things into your body, right? Yes, I cater towards more healthier like type snacks, right? Yeah, I'm eating some RX bars, but the Cruncher potato chips are phenomenal. Like the jalapeno potato chips, like get me every time. Like I love them, but the reality is I'm not freaking eating the whole bag, right? Yeah, I'm eating some of those. Those are some things that I do eat. Yeah. But the fact of the matter is that we need to be more keen to like how efficient our workouts are. What I've seen, and this is not anyone like to attack anyone that like, hey, going to the gym, like I went to the gym today, but it's like, then what did you get out of that? What did you actually do? Yeah. And so this is for me, like, would I say I have the healthiest diet, especially right now while I'm stacking, healthiest diet in the world? I would say absolutely not. But the reality is that my heart rate, it significantly goes up every day because I attack the gym with a purpose. My phone isn't there. I'm not texting anybody while I'm going through resistance training. And that is me then maintaining muscle mass. And so I can burn a lot. You definitely want to understand like how much you're bringing in so that I can burn it off. Cause I can't like have this massive excess. Right. Yeah. And the reality is if I have a lot of foods that I just naturally, I think, Lane Norton actually talks about this quite a bit. If you eat, preservative based foods where you like, if that's majority of your intake, you are going to have to work like 2 to 3 times harder to burn that off in the gym. And I believe it's almost double, right? So it's like a 1.5 to 2 times factor for preservatives to like break that down. When it's a whole food, it's a lot easier when I go to the gym to break that down. Yeah. So I do tend to, again, I don't want to say I am just feeding myself with junk food all the time. But the reality is I'm not going to sit here and lie to you and be like, I have the healthiest, cleanest diet. I never eat junk food. I never do these things because that's not the reality. So, but what the reality is that you need to understand to educate yourself that there are times I play by the 80-20 rule. I can eat the dessert, right? Knowing that I have enough discipline that I'm going to go in and attack that and actually burn that off. So the intention of the day is to attack what I need to attack. Yeah. And make sure I'm burning off those calories so that I either maintain a slight deficit or it's barely a gain, right? Yeah. So that I'm not feeling like I'm gaining 2 to 3 pounds or 4 pounds in a month that I'm then going to carry into the next month to carry another 4 to 5 pounds. And this is really true coming into the season, right? Because the reality is, and statistics actually show this, that majority of people gain their weight 2 months out of the year. What are those 2 months, Carter?
I am imagining that it would be more of a winter month, maybe December, January.
It's November and December.
December.
You have Thanksgiving and you have Christmas, and people lay dormant during those months.
It's the best time to gain weight too.
It's the best time to gain weight. So that's the reality. Hey, those extra cookies that you're grabbing, like, do you plan on working those off? Like, that's a really big thing. So anyways, without going too long winded on that, I think you can have your cake and eat it too. That's the reality that, you can have your cake and eat it too. But then we go back to the habits are you planning on burning that off? And a lot of people don't. Like, a lot of people don't have the mission to actually, hey, I'm still an athlete. I got to burn this off.
I gotcha.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Something that I've noticed is when I go home for the holidays, I feel like it's harder to, like, I'll eat stuff and then working out comes just a little bit harder when I'm not in a routine.
Mm-hmm.
Like here in Florida, I'm in a routine. Like I'm grinding through school, or I'm here at Alessi Functional Health doing my internship. And when I have that level of consistency, I've noticed with myself, I'm way more mindful of what I eat. But then when I travel, it kind of gets lost in there. Have you experienced anything like that where, like, when you travel or if you're on vacation, like, how do you approach that?
Yeah. So if there's a will, there's a way, right? And then it all comes with proactive planning. So I went to Europe last year. Guess what was one of the first things that I did? And when I looked for a city, we were in Madrid.
Madrid. Okay. So I was about to guess Italy, but you were in Spain.
Yeah.
Did you look for some sort of bakery or something, or
I mean, that would be true. No, I looked for a gym, right? I mapped out the gyms in the area. So I worked on my Spanish. I've been working on my Spanish. I love working on Spanish, but that is also another biohack we can talk about later as far as building neuroplasticity of learning another language or reading a lot. So anyways, I looked for gyms, right? And so I found gyms that were close by to the Airbnbs that we were staying at so that I knew I could still get a workout in.
Yeah. I've heard that does wonders at helping out with jet lag. Like the sooner
100%.
Okay.
1000%. It's completely accurate. And it's all just secreting, like your serotonin levels. It just gives you that, like, it's therapeutic, right? When you come out of like the gym after a hard session, it completely reverts that jet lag. It's absolutely amazing. That's one of the first things that I always try to do is get a workout in.
Dang.
Also, another little biohack there too, if you do travel a lot, just to notate, is that you can actually, if you have sand nearby, you can actually dig your feet in the sand and 10 minutes will revert your internal clock.
That makes so much sense, because you're with skin contact on the sand, you're probably tapping into the biomagnetic field of the earth. And
right.
So like you're just harmonizing yourself with the rhythm of the planet. That I've never thought of it that way before.
It's wild. It's wild how the body works. So yeah, it's intentional grounding, right? Obviously, the softer the system is that you have underneath you is just naturally going to magnify, and you're going to connect with the earth, and then the time clock shifts. But I would say working out is still probably one of the best, if not the best, to actually revert that time change if you're traveling to Europe or vice versa. So that's a really good one. Another thing that I wanted to tap into though, which I think is really critical for specifically to like in today's environment of like how we operate. And it's that idea going back to, people might not think it's a biohacking, but one of the things that I've built to my repertoire is Duolingo and learning Spanish. And so it has forced me to really, like, it's uncomfortable at times, right? And then I have to try to expose myself and talk to other people that only speak Spanish. But what I've found is like that motive in and of itself is like creating this neuroplasticity of like, where I have to really, really like dig into the brain. Like when you have to think of words and then conjugate and feel like you're conjugating, it is so extremely difficult. It's more difficult than like lifting a heavy weight, where you feel like you're going into just like the absolute lowest synapses of the brain, right?
Yeah.
To try to gear that. And when you can do that over and over again, how the inner workings of the neurons of the brain and your feedback loops that just are created out of that, how much that has helped me. Do you work on anything like that, or do you find that in reading or anything like that?
Yeah, I find that mostly with, for me, reading, meditation, breath work. Those are great ways to promote neuroplasticity, build new synapses in the brain. Journaling can really help out with that too. The other one that I've heard with that, if you're learning a language, is learning to play a new instrument. So I am not musically inclined. So that's something that I could probably benefit from. And I was just talking to my pops about this recently because I have 3 brothers now that we're gringos, right? So like we grew up, speaking English, but they speak Spanish now and they're very fluent. So I'm like, okay, I got to catch up and see if I can learn a new skill because that's a cool flex that they've got on their part. But yeah, musical instruments I've heard do that really well. And then just your basic brain building, meditation, journaling, prayer and scripture study, depending on what kind of faith and cultural background that you come from, is really helpful for that brain building.
That is so good. So good. So, those are some helpful tips. I hope you just grabbed a couple nuggets. The point was not to overwhelm you with a crazy amount of things in this podcast because, you can do a number of things, right? But at the end of the day, then you just need to pick one. And so I've been doing this for probably around, 8-9 years, really where I've slowly built things into play. I wake up pretty much in the morning, get sauna, do a little bit of cold. I've actually gotten a cold plunge. I took a hiatus and then I've recently got back into that. But doing those small things, it's not something where you just jump into it. One thing that Carter said, anything done with consistency always compounds, right? Mm-hmm. It's like money, it's like biohacking or whatever you're doing. If you do it with a level of consistency and then you tighten that gap of which you do it, it will compound. And so taking 2 or 3 of these things that might be advantageous to you, but start utilizing them in your day to day. And the more you do them, the more you will see the benefits from them.
Yeah. So something that I would have to add is there's a lot of different biohacks or ways that we can talk to our bodies intelligently, but sometimes people might feel a little bit overwhelmed with all of that. So that's why I think working with a doctor or a coach or someone that can talk you through that on what's going to help you out the most. Is it going to be the red light? Is it going to be the cold plunge? Is it going to be talking to yourself, nicely with affirmations, journaling, all that? Because if you can build just a few of those in, it can really make a big difference in your day. But, do everything that you can to experiment with whatever works for you. But then, stick to those things as mm-hmm. Matt was talking about, building that consistency, because that's where you're going to notice it. But this was just kind of mostly to reinforce myself, because I've noticed a lot of these other things and it can feel overwhelming. I don't know how you guys are feeling about that, but find some things that you really like that make sense, that will get you the most benefit for yourself. And then, being consistent with it.
Yeah. And as Carter said, this is what we do here at Alessi Functional Health, is we provide you that level of detail and that accountability throughout the process. So if you ever want to get more information, just head on to alessifxhealth.com and hit that book now button, and we'll get on a call with you and make sure that we are the right fit. So until next time, thank you so much, Carter. I appreciate you. As always, if you enjoyed this podcast, please share it with somebody. And lastly, as we always sign off with, your health is in your hands.
Thank you for tuning in to Health Decoded, where we break down the truth about all things health and empower you to take charge of your well-being. If you found value in today's episode, please subscribe, leave a review, and share it with someone who needs to hear this. For more resources and personalized support, visit us at alessifunctionalhealth.com and sign up for our newsletter. To hear your questions answered live on the show, send them to ask@alessifxhealth.com. That's ask@alessifxhealth.com. Until next time, stay curious, stay empowered, and remember, your health is in your hands.